Annabelle, gravely ill and fighting for her life, meets Enoch, a misfit who is infatuated with funerals.
Does anybody here know you?
The two strike up an unlikely friendship under the watchful eye of a long-dead Kamikaze pilot's ghost. In this twist on the classic boy meets girl tale from director Gus Van Zant, Annabelle and Enoch find true love in Restless.
All right, next up is Restless, directed by Gus Van Sant. Liz and James, you've just seen it. Let's talk about it.
All right, well, Restless treads the well-worn path already provided by movies like Sweet November, Autumn in New York, Love Story, and I too find those movies a little irritating, but this was kind of a refreshing take on that same story of the pixie who can transform a cynical man and teach him how to love. But what I liked about it was the secondary character named Hiroshi, because when you have a Japanese kamikaze ghost in your film, you don't need to read the film as quite as realistic as you might have already assumed.
Take a good old-fashioned handshake any day. A bow is a sign of deep respect. So is a handshake. Come on, try it. Enoch Brain, nice to meet you.
It feels as though that Kamikaze pilot is the one exception to the rest of the movie. He's the one who feels out of place, at least for me, because the rest of the movie traffics in a kind of realism. But there's nothing much fanciful about the cinematography. It's gorgeous, yes, but it's true to life in its own way, because it's shot in the murky rain, in dark rooms, out in the open.
Just because it's outside doesn't mean it's real.
No, that's true, but we're supposed to encounter this one rather strange boy who's a bit like Harold from Harold and Maude, and for me, the inclusion of Hiroshi just feels like an element that's meant to sort of salvage holes in a plot that don't really come together. It feels very callow because it was written by someone who was in their first couple of years of film school.
I like the bumbling quality of the film. I like imperfect. You seem to be blaming the script for an awful lot of things. What, are you saying that the performances were solid, but the script supporting it weren't?
I think that's absolutely true. There's one moment towards the, 2/3 into the movie where a character takes a sledgehammer to the cemetery where his parents have died and starts wailing on their gravestone with a sledgehammer as he screams at the top of his lungs, "You think you can just leave me and never come back?"
He did not like the death of his parents.
I'm curious, what sort of audience do you expect to go see this movie?
I don't know. I really enjoyed the film, so I'm not saying that people like me, but I think it has a whimsy, a quirk. It's a little sappy, and I enjoy a little sap from time to time. So I do think the audience is probably women who like romances.
And are willing to overlook just major flaws in the
plot.
plot.
Not a major flaw. And I think this film is really all style over substance, but a very charming style over substance. What I'm trying to say is that if this film were meant to be a drama, you would have seen more dramatic elements at play supportive. Look at this film compared to Autumn in New York or Sweet November. You have these scenes of Charlize Theron or Winona Ryder talking about how they're gonna die and sobbing, and it's not done like that.
Basically, a male and female will show up at the body and kind of get to know each other. Then they work together to bury the carcass, and then they mate, and then she lays her eggs on it.
Do you want to meet my parents?
Sure.
It's supposed to focus on the bloom of love, right? And the conflict between finding this someone at the very end of their life, just before they're about to die, who might just be the person you're supposed to be with forever. And if the film actually did that and went there, I would prepared to say in a heartbeat, it's done very well.
I don't think they're supposed to be together forever.
But it sidesteps all those really interesting questions. It never gets into that really meaty place of thinking about those things.
Because it's not supposed to be that movie. That's what I'm saying.
But you said you cried at the end, yeah?
I did, but I'm a mark. I'm a total mark. I cried at a Microsoft Outlook commercial the other day. I mean, I just cried every day.
All right. I think if I listen to you guys anymore, I'm gonna cry. So I think we should just take this thing to a vote. Please grab your tickets.
Sure.
I think the mark of a good movie is if it stays with you. And this film stayed with me, and it affected me emotionally. And I know it has audience, so I say, see it.
This film has some really great craftspeople associated with it, from Gus Van Sant, cinematographer Harris Savitas, but I don't think it can escape the callowness and thinness of the script. And for every great, light, graceful scene, there's one that just clunks and falls down to earth. And for that reason, it has to be a skip it.
All right, so it looks like we're going to split the difference and call it a stream it for Restless.
Okay. All right.
Cheers, guys.
Streaming on a big TV in a black room.
With blindfold and earmuffs.